sometimes it becomes an issue if you enjoy it too much and you kind of put all your eggs in one basket. You might be liking the attention a little bit too much. When you first start dating somebody, it's like a highlight reel of all their best features. And yes, I know we're grown women now, we don't want to play games, but unfortunately, that's kind of the one that you always sort of have to dance around and always keep them guessing. Men are Hey guys, welcome to Self-Care Sundays with Sophia, where we talk about self-love, self-growth, and everything in between. Today's video, we are going to be talking about how to get your power back, how to step back into your feminine and let him chase you. Or the other option is to actually move on, stay in your power, and not even care about it. So I think this topic is something that you can't fake. You have to genuinely feel these emotions, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So, how to know if you've lost your power. The biggest telltale, let's say you're starting dating somebody and it started off so great and time has moved on and suddenly you've kind of gotten used to the way things are going, it feels great, but then you have these expectations. You might not be aware that you have them, but you kind of have a norm of what his behavior is like. And if something is not on track of what he presented himself to be, you're hypersensitive to that. So having expectations is a clear sign that you're starting to lose your power a little bit because you might be liking the attention a little bit too much, which don't feel bad. We're all human. Obviously it feels good to feel pursued and be in our feminine energy, but sometimes it becomes an issue if you enjoy it too much and you kind of put all your eggs in one basket. That's why people always say when you're in the dating phases, you really should be trying to talk to multiple guys at a time. I know that's really hard because I think it's just in our nature as women to just be loyal. When you find somebody that you like, it's so rare and you're so excited about it, so nobody else matters. But that's the part where you really have to kind of discipline yourself and be able to not be so focused on that one outcome. Because when you first start dating somebody, they obviously are gonna have, it's like a highlight reel of all their best features. They're gonna be in chase mode. They're gonna present themselves a certain way. It's never gonna feel like the beginning of the relationship or the dating period. Honestly, it really is like drugs, how they say, wait, am I allowed to say that word? When people do their first hit, they're always chasing that original high. And dating, I'm not sure which hormone it is, whether it's dopamine or some type of love chemical endorphin rush that we get, but it's literally the same thing. It's never going to feel the same as that first week or those first few days of talking because you can't see any of the flaws and everything just seems perfect and you have rose-colored glasses and you're totally infatuated. But the point is, you're probably always going to be chasing that high. I'm not sure if my analogy makes sense, but this recently happened to me, so I can speak from experience where, yeah, it starts off so incredible. You feel like you're living in a rom-com, and eventually, okay, this is where the biggest mistake is letting him know that you like him. And I know that sounds like playing games, and yes, I know we're grown women now, we don't want to play games, but unfortunately, that's kind of the one that you always sort of have to dance around and always keep them guessing. Men are natural hunters. It's in their DNA. If you are very certain and you give them unconditional love, especially right off the bat, before they've even earned it, they're going to move on. It's way too easy. Why would you kill a dead or keep trying to shoot at a dead cow and then, oh, I earned this. It was already dead. Or you know what I mean? It was like it was an easy kill. So men are just hunters. It literally goes back to caveman days when men had to go hunt for food. We had to be the mothers, take care of the kids at home. Back to this whole theory of letting them know that you like them. Men are going to be very clear if they like you. That's one of my favorite sayings. If you're confused, it's probably because he's not that into you. You'll know if a man likes you. They will do everything in their power to impress you, to want to give you their time. It'll be very obvious if they like you. However, your job is, even if you do start to like them, that's when it's the most important to bring your energy back to yourself, get grounded, look at the facts. Okay, I don't know this guy. He's not that special. He's giving me a highlight reel and I can't be sold this easily. I think that honestly, I've never been married. I can't even say that I've been in a truly successful adult relationship yet, but I think that men should always be a little bit guessing. I believe that the man should like the woman more than the woman likes him. I recently had an F-boy tell me the opposite, and I'm like, of course you would want the girl to like you more because you're an F-boy. But no, I think it's healthier for the men to love you just a little bit more, because you always have to be okay with getting up and leaving. If his behavior is unacceptable or he does something offside, you got to be okay with walking and leaving. And he needs to know that you're very capable of doing that, because you have standards, you have boundaries, and that's another very feminine trait, is having boundaries. What are you okay with? Is he able to knock down your wall and be like, oh, well, I'm going to do this, and you're just easily like, okay, yes, whatever you say, because I love you? No, you got to have boundaries, be firm in them, and stick with them. Sorry, I forgot my point about the not letting them know that you like them thing. You might have discussions in early dating phases. I know I've had this, where you agree that, oh, I don't want to play games. If you like somebody, why can't we just be two adults and let it be known? But unfortunately, there's always going to be a little bit of an element of a game in that sense. You can't, even if the guy agrees with you and said, yes, I don't want to play games, we can express if we like each other, don't believe them. There's a reason why it's called a trophy wife, is because, not just because you look like a trophy and you're beautiful and pretty and shiny. No, it's because they worked hard to get you. They are so proud of you because they know that you're a high value woman, you have high standards, and they broke that barrier because they were worthy enough. So they love to feel like the man in your presence because you have these high standards, boundaries, and you call the shots of what's acceptable and what's not. He should always almost be a little bit afraid of you in a way too, because you're more than happy with getting up and leaving if his behavior is offside. We were taught that, if you're beautiful, you can get any guy. It actually has nothing to do with appearance. I mean, obviously a little bit. We were going to be physically attracted to somebody. Looks does come into play, but it's a very small percentage. It's all about your self-confidence and your self-concept. What do you think of yourself? Do you think you're a high-value woman? That's going to shine more than any highlighter or lip gloss that you have, is what you think of yourself, okay? So having good self-love and practices to be your most confident self is probably the most important thing in a relationship. You don't want to lose yourself, or you don't want to get into a relationship in hopes that he'll fill you up and he will make you feel complete. It's never going to last. Sure, maybe some situations they do, but they're not happy, and it's not a true, healthy, equal relationship. So a man essentially just wants to chase you. You want to keep that period going for as long as possible. You need to sit back, be in your feminine, let him show you all of his cards, what he's willing to do to prove to you that he's worthy. And if you get too comfortable in that period because they're giving you so much love, or maybe he's even a love bomber, you can't get too comfortable and you can't start expecting certain things. And if he doesn't do that, if you are visibly upset, that's a big mistake, because then he knows he has you. You can't be upset by certain things that he doesn't do just because you think, oh, normally he would have done this. He's not your boyfriend. He doesn't owe you anything. So you actually need to just bring your power back and maybe actually pull back a little bit. If you're starting to feel that way, you definitely need to get your power back. Step back and let him get back to proving to you that he's worthy. Okay, so what do you do if you have lost your power and you are in this situation? There is a good chance that it might not be recoverable, but you have to be okay with that. That is the most important part about it. You know what though? They always come back, but in that moment, you have to be willing to accept, you know what? It might be over, but I'm okay with that. You can't be doing any of these tactics in hopes that, oh, if he thinks that I've moved on, he'll come back and chase me. No, because you're going to give it away way too much. You have to genuinely be like, you know what? I was okay before I met him. I'm going to be okay now. Yes, he was great. It felt good. And you might even have a little bit of a grieving period, and that is more than okay. You're human. However, you can't hope and sit and wait for him to come back. That's where you got to get your self-care practices on. Erin Dowdy has great videos about letting go. And yes, it's going to hurt. It's going to sting. It's going to feel like a drug withdrawal, essentially, because in that beginning period, it probably was so exhilarating and that infatuation and attraction, and then all of a sudden it's gone, or it's like slowly faded away. You might have not even realized it, and before you know it, oh crap, well, before he was doing this, now he's not caring. And then that became your source of confidence, or like it became what you were doing every day to fill yourself up, and which is so not good. So we need to make sure that we stick with our self-care practices, whatever we do to make ourselves feel whole and confident, stick with that and do not get tempted to go to him for that. That tells me that you're not full. You have to be full and happy with yourself before you can join another person's life. So I understand that this is a lot easier said than done, and it might be like, okay, so I got to step back a little bit to get my power back. Well, how do I do that? I'm totally obsessed. If you're in the obsession phase, it's going to be really tough, but the main priority is bringing your energy back to yourself. So even just things, I know it might hurt, but if you're still even in the talking, if you're still in communication, maybe just don't continue the conversation. If he asks you something, end it there. Don't ask and continue the conversation. So these are the small things that, like, I can give you tips and tricks on what to do and how to act, but if you don't actually feel the like letting go, I don't know the word I'm trying to say for this, but if you don't actually feel detached, that's the word, these things won't come natural to you. And you can't just like remember every tip and trick, because you might be hit with something that maybe one of us YouTube people or the Google prompt doesn't have the exact answer. Only you two know your dynamic, so nobody can really give you relationship advice. I personally am not really a fan of getting relationship advice from friends or family, because they're just going to confuse what you're already thinking, and they don't know the dynamic. Only you two know the dynamic. So if somebody else gets in your head, you start overthinking. It doesn't feel natural. It feels forced. So I'm just personally not a fan of getting advice from anybody. I'm a fan of bringing your power back, concentrating on yourself. And if you become too attached or too excited about somebody, totally taking a step back, not relying on that text message notification for a rush of endorphins, not re-looking at old photos or old text messages or dreaming of your last date together, not doing that. Really just focusing on letting go. Whatever you need to do to let go of that, whether it's picking up your old hobbies, cook a nice meal, maybe you haven't cooked for a while and that's something you enjoy, get back into that. Go to some fun new classes. If you go to a gym, maybe try out a new class. If you do Pilates all the time, try a different one. Do things or pick up a new book, something just to switch up the energy and break up that feeling that you're feeling right now, because this isn't the place you want to be. So in order to switch that and break it up, you got to do new things. It's like when you've got a knot in your back and you got to massage it out. You just got to switch up the energy, right? So it's very doable. It's just going to feel uncomfortable, but hey, without discomfort, there is no growth, and without growth, there's no new results. And you know what? It doesn't actually have to be that hard. Just have some girl time, do some stuff that you enjoy, and stay busy. I know it sounds hard because it's like that hit of happiness that you've been getting the last little while, but that's okay. We just got to rebalance and refocus on yourself. Pick up some new hobbies, and if you catch yourself daydreaming, that's where you got to stop yourself. You've created these neural pathways in your brain that live and rely on certain things on the daily basis, and maybe those fills aren't there anymore, so you got to rewire your daily life and your thinking habits. So if you start thinking about him, stop. Start thinking of something else. Get busy, or every time you think of him, slap your wrist. There's psychology methods like that you can literally rewire your brain by every time you have a thought, you snap an elastic band. I've never personally done that, but if it works for you, great. Whatever you need to do to change your thinking and do something different that brings you back and focuses on yourself. This is the perfect time to start meditating again. If you haven't been meditating lately, I really, really recommend that. Having a bath, having some tea, going for long walks in nature. If you go in nature, that's a perfect way to connect to your feminine energy. And your feminine energy is what's going to heal you the most. So connecting to that part of your body and your soul is going to be really healing for you. You really just have to be kind to yourself, because, hey, you know what? You're human. It felt good. Who wouldn't be in this situation? We've all been through it. And I think that's another thing too, is a lot of people have pride. So if you're in the situation where you've lost your power and maybe he's not behaving the way he was before, not a lot of people want to admit that they've been there, because everybody wants to create this allure like, oh, I can get whoever I want, I'm so desirable. And sometimes that's probably just them wanting to attract that for themselves. Like, I understand that when people say that, it's not that they're, I mean, well, it kind of is, but it's not like they're being a total asshole and being like, nope, I get anybody I want, can't relate to you. Maybe they're not doing that. They're just protecting themselves, and they're just focusing on the times that they have succeeded and they have gotten their way. Because whatever you focus on grows. So if you label yourself as somebody who always gets rejected or somebody that doesn't get their way with dating, you just can't do that, because every time you say it, it solidifies it more, and you're just attracting more of those experiences. So you might have a close friend or two that can relate to you on experiences, but you're generally not going to get the average person to be like, oh yeah, I just got rejected last week, or oh yeah, he was obsessed in the beginning and now he texts me, I start all the texting first. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to admit that, and that's where your self-care has to be even stronger, because you got to pick yourself back up. You can't focus on other people's experiences to make you feel less alone. The reality is we all experience it. Beyonce got cheated on. Everybody's had situations where they're not in their highest energy, you're being treated the best. It's just human nature, and you have to be kind to yourself. Anyway, I'm gonna stop this topic now. What I want you to do now is have a nice bath. I want you to look in the mirror and say 5 nice things about yourself, and I want you to mean it, because you are special, you are incredible, and you are a powerful girl, okay? You determine your worth, you determine your power, and you know what? If somebody wants to make you feel crappy, then remove yourself. So you actually have more power than you know. You decide where you're at. Anyway, thank you so much for watching Self-Care Sundays with Sophia. I'm Sophia. You can find me on all my social medias at Sophia Pearson. We'll see you guys next week on Self-Care Sundays with Sophia. Bye.